Hey, it's Steve at the Galveston School of Cooking, and today we are making our version of the classic tiramisu. It is so easy to make. There are no eggs, you don't have to bake it, and take a look at that. Oh my, it is so good. Here's what we're going to need: some cream cheese, whipping cream, mascarpone cheese, cocoa powder, coffee or espresso. I'm using jet fuel coffee from Independence Coffee in Texas, some ladyfingers, and some vanilla extract. I'm using our homemade version. You can check out that video in the link below. And we're going to need a little bit of sugar that's not pictured here. There are only two musts in this recipe. And the first one is make your coffee first, because it's going to need to cool so you can dip the ladyfingers in it. I'm going to grind my beans to a fine powder so that I can get every bit of flavor out of them. Once your coffee's ready, pour it into a shallow container. I'm using a square Pyrex dish. This will need to cool before we dip our ladyfingers. This next step is a little different from the traditional because I don't use eggs in this dessert. We would traditionally call this a custard, but since I'm not using the eggs, how about I call it a filling? To make our filling, we're going to add half a cup of sugar to the whipping cream, as well as a tablespoon of our homemade vanilla extract. We're going to whip this to a soft peak, and this brings me to the second must of this recipe, and that is our mascarpone and cream cheese must be at room temperature. By them being at room temperature, it makes it so much easier to blend into the whipping cream. It's best to use a slow speed when mixing the cheeses and the cream so that we end up with a thick, creamy filling just like this. Now it's time to assemble. You can build this any way you like, but I'm going to place the ladyfingers on the bottom, and since I'm using a martini glass for an individual serving, I need to cut my ladyfingers into different sizes so that they stack in somewhat of the same shape as the glass. These ladyfingers are like sponges, so it only takes 1 to 2 seconds of dipping into the coffee. Any longer than that and they will turn to mush, which we do not want. I've got my first layer of ladyfingers in place. So now I'm going to add my filling. With a spoon, I'll flatten this layer of filling and get it ready for the next layer of ladyfingers. As you can see, the martini glass gets wider as it goes up, so I'll need to measure the ladyfinger and cut it to size with a serrated knife. Follow the same dipping procedure and place those on top of that layer of filling. And now we're ready for the final layer of filling. As before, just scoop it out and flatten it with a spoon until you get a nice smooth surface on the top. Okay, I know I said that was the final layer, but I've placed some of that filling into a Ziploc bag and I cut a corner, and now I'm making these nice little decorative mounds on top of it just to give it a little texture. Once that's done, we will top it with some cocoa powder. Just sift some of that on top, put as much as you want, and as you can see, this makes a mess. So you may want to put paper towel or a cutting board under it like I did. And just for a little decorative addition, I'm sprinkling some confectioner's sugar on it and using a dough scraper to block the sugar from hitting the cocoa powder. And isn't that a thing of beauty? And it's so good and easy to make. And that's it for the individual size. Of course, I had some filling and ladyfingers left over, so I'm going to put together a larger version. Here I am at twice the speed, just showing you how you can do this in any size that you want. The procedure is exactly the same. Just stack your ladyfingers, followed by a layer of filling, and just keep going. Our version of the classic tiramisu is so good, and it's easy to make. I hope you try it. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and this is Steve from the Galveston School of Cooking, and I will see you next time.